Welcome to Managing Risk with the Three Lines of Defense. Learn about the COSO model and how it applies to our company. Risk management for an enterprise is like guarding a castle. You set up multiple types of defense to protect against attacks or risks. When those risks show up, you defend and lift the drawbridge. You make use of your moat, and you put your archers in the castle turrets to work. Everyone has the common goal, and they work together to protect the fortress. I'm Katrina Frigeri, trainer and technical writer for the Risk Office, and I'd like to tell you about the three lines of defense model from the COSO Enterprise Risk Management Framework and how it applies to our company's fortress. In just a few minutes, I'll review with you the COSO origins and the three lines of defense model. We'll review the role of senior management in this model, and we'll talk about how the model can be effectively coordinated across an enterprise like our company. Enterprise risk management is a multidirectional, iterative process in which almost any component can influence another. At the top of this cube, we have the enterprise objectives, what an entity strives to achieve. In the front are the 5 COSO internal control components. They represent what is needed to achieve the objectives. The third side of the cube represents how the company is organized. All three of these facets are connected and dependent on each other. The COSO Internal Control Integrated Framework document outlines the 5 components and 17 principles for an organization to effectively manage its risks. Each component includes a set of guiding principles. The components are like themes that cover important topics for risk management, from control environment to monitoring activities. Each principle serves as guidance and best practice for an enterprise to successfully manage risk. In June 2017, COSO published Enterprise Risk Management Integrating with Strategy and Performance, a document which includes additional guidelines and updated components and principles represented by a double-helix graphic. The COSO cube graphic is still used in the COSO Internal Control Integrated Framework. And COSO states they introduced new graphics to better illustrate the alignment of risk, strategy, and performance while the cube remains relevant. Enterprise risk management enables management to effectively deal with uncertainty and associated risk and opportunity, enhancing the capacity to build value. COSO, a joint initiative to combat corporate fraud, developed and maintains the ERM integrated framework. Within the framework are models to support the principles, one of which is the 3 lines of defense. The 3 lines of defense is ultimately about the design and implementation of effective internal control. Clear responsibilities are important here so that each group understands their roles in addressing risk and control. The 3 lines model addresses how specific duties related to risk and control could be assigned and coordinated within an organization. Risk management is strongest when there are 3 separate and clearly identified lines of defense. All 3 lines of defense should exist in some form at every company. Defense Line 1 is front line management. Remember the COSO ERM framework cube? 4 of the components of ERM map directly to the first line of the defense model. The first line of defense in the model is primarily handled by frontline and midline managers who have day-to-day ownership and management of risk and control. Operational managers develop and implement the organization's control and risk management processes. The first line owns the risk and the design and execution of the organization's control to respond to those risks. The second line provides expertise in risk, helps set implementation strategy, and assists in implementation of policies and procedures. They help ensure that risk and control are effectively managed, and they support the first line. The typical second line functions include specialty expertise groups such as risk management, information security, financial control, health and safety, and so on. The third line of defense is the organization's internal audit function. The third line is not permitted to perform management functions, so it can protect its objectivity and independence. In most organizations, internal audit independence is further strengthened by a direct reporting relationship between the chief audit executive and the board of directors. Internal audit is responsible for an objective audit of the entire ERM process. When coordinated effectively, external auditors could be additional lines of defense. However, the work of these groups has narrow objectives, so the areas addressed are less extensive than what the internal lines of defense work on. For example, specific regulatory audits may focus solely on compliance issues, safety, or other limited scope issues, while the three lines of defense are intended to address the entire range of operational, reporting, and compliance risks facing an organization. External audit is no substitute for any of our internal lines of defense. It is an organization's responsibility to manage its risks. Remember our castle analogy? The three lines of defense in COSO ERM are represented by 1. The drawbridge, the managers on the ground. 2. The moat, an all-encompassing defense line. And 3. The tower archers who are at the top, distanced and keeping an eye on everything. Let's look at the castle again with our three lines of defense model glasses. Defense Line 1 is the frontline operating management. They own and directly manage risk and control. Defense Line 2 is the risk, control, and compliance management. They monitor risk and control in support of the teams. Defense Line 3 is the internal audit assurance. They provide independent assurance to the board and senior management concerning the risk and control effectiveness. The three defense lines each have the same ultimate objective: help the organization achieve its goals with effective risk management. They serve the same stakeholders, and they often deal with the same risk and control issues. When the three lines are properly structured, there should be no gaps in coverage, no unnecessary duplication of effort, and risk and control has a higher probability of being effectively managed. Senior management and the board of directors have integral roles in the model. They are accountable for the development, evaluation, and oversight of the internal control system. Senior management must fully support strong governance, risk management, and control. They have the ultimate responsibility for the activities of the first and second lines of defense, and their engagement is critical for the success of the overall model. Senior management works closely with the governing body, board of directors, or audit committee on defining the control environment, that first component of enterprise risk management, which directly relates to the three lines of defense model. When coordinating the three lines of defense model, the lines should be distinct and responsibilities clear to prevent unnecessary duplication of effort. Roles are explained in policies and procedures. Responsibilities are reinforced with consistent tone from the top. Communication is open, and terminology and sometimes even tools and processes are shared. This coordination is so important that under Standard 2050, chief audit executives are specifically required to share information and coordinate activities with other internal and external providers of assurance and consulting services to ensure proper coverage and minimize duplication of efforts. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the three lines of defense model for effective risk management. Remember, it's everyone's responsibility to keep our company's castle safe from risk. Do you know which line of defense you belong to?